Here's a bit of info on Peter Jackson. He was born in Wellington, New Zealand on October 31st, 1961. He grew up most of his childhood wanting to make movies, but he just didn't really have the equipment to do so. So he would make short films and he would help his friends direct and write some of their own. Now, some of the films and movies, or some of the films and shows that he would watch as a kid was the animated Lord of the Rings, the early King Kong, Monty Python, and one that's not known so well is Thunderbirds. Now, these all helped influence Jackson's style immensely, but he took up his own. In most of his films, he had a seriousness to them that just still had a general lightness and playfulness to them.
Nice and snugly like that.
Now, some of his work includes Heavenly Creatures, the newer adaptation of King Kong, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the Hobbit trilogy. While Heavenly Creatures was the first of these to win an award, the Lord of the Rings Return of the King was the first to win his directing award.
Wow, look, thank you so much for the Academy and for all our... You're giving us an incredibly overwhelming night.
And I just happen to have it in this collection here. Now, this series was very fun for me to watch as a child, and I would say even his King Kong movie had a great influence on me. All these movies just were so fun to watch, and there was just something about them that I feel like I hadn't seen in movies done that early before. So, while these are all great, one of his first films was Bad Taste. And Bad Taste was released in 1987, and it was a sci-fi comedy. His second film was Meet the Feebles, and this was a musical comedy. And to say it was a bit different from the rest of his filmography is a bit of an understatement.
Meet the Beatles! Meet the Beatles! We're not trash! Meet the Beatles!
I got one leg, baby. How do I get around?
Now, he started off doing comedies and slightly did a little bit of dramas, but now later in his film career, he's doing more action and adventure movies, and I'd say that's pretty good for him. I think one of his most notable contributions to the film industry is probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, I mean, there's also the Hobbit series, and that came a little bit later, so I'll say the Lord of the Rings did it first. This series was one of the first, I would say, really well done epics that was translated to film, and it was phenomenally received by the audiences. So that just eventually spawned the prequel series, The Hobbit. Now, the Lord of the Rings series was great, in my opinion. It had done a fantastic job of bringing J.R. Tolkien's books straight from the paper right onto the screens. I think, I don't know if anyone else could have done it as good as that. He has a meticulous way of just going through every scene and just getting as many shots as he possibly could. He would just shoot angles for every dialogue there was. It's insane the work he put into these. And it shows it. Peter Jackson has brought a lot of his own creativity into the film industry. He would even cameo in his own movies and act in them. For most of his movies, he's one of the extras just doing their own thing. And I love that he loves to get in his movies. I think that everyone should just always dabble in every part of their movie as they can. It's just fun to get to know that part of the job. So, Peter Jackson, phenomenal. I love his work. Now, everyone may not love his work as much as I do. Not saying that I love it that much, but I think there's something to appreciate in most of his movies.